4 decades ago tonight, that a sleepy little beach town mourned the brutal murders of a well-known Bay Area family. Their deaths shocked the community and the case went nowhere. But tonight, you'll hear for the first time exclusive details of what police think happened and why the case is not as cold as many people think. Here's our Adam Walzer tonight.
She was a very generous person.
Ann Patterson is reminiscing about her aunt.
She was smart, she loved life, she loved traveling, she was fun.
This photo is one of her favorites. That's her dad with a cigar at Smokey Joe's in Havana, Cuba. On the far right, sitting on the bar, is Aunt Isabel, whose life ended tragically. After college, Isabel traveled around the world and eventually married Norman Mike Michaelson. The couple moved to Florida and bought an orange grove.
Everybody in the neighborhood knew them.
As a kid, Terry Longpree grew up across the canal from Michaelson Grove.
They were real pleasant people, and they do about anything in the world for you.
But the pleasant memories of Norman and Isabel Michaelson are overshadowed by their mysterious and brutal murders.
They found Uncle Mike shot and in the backyard, and that they had to hunt for Aunt Isabel.
Mr. Michaelson had been shot twice in the chest, most likely by a long rifle. As for Mrs. Michaelson,
they found her in the trunk of the car, stabbed and strangled. What a horrible way to go.
It was a few years after the Michelsons sold their successful orange grove business and settled into their waterfront home on beautiful Longboat Key.
And then to find Mrs. Michaelson in the trunk of a car, I mean, nothing made sense.
Joe Bell was the first officer on the scene that day more than 4 decades ago.
The house wasn't ransacked or no violence other than, the blood and in the bedroom and stuff.
And Terry Longpree was called out to the crime scene as a diver with the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, assisting the Longboat Key Police Department.
We did an offshore search and worked our way into the beach, and there actually was imprints in the sand at the waterline where a boat had come up on the beach.
It was that type of keel mark from the hull of a commercial fishing boat that most likely came ashore directly behind the home and gave investigators their strongest clue.
Our theory was at that point that it might have been a drug offload that went bad. Maybe they landed on the wrong beach, or possibly had the boat engine might have stopped or something. They ran into the ground.
And according to boxes and boxes of investigative files reviewed by the I-Team, for years the murder investigation went nowhere. But as you're about to hear publicly for the first time, we uncovered investigators more than 15 years after the murders started looking at several suspects.
The 5 men were no strangers to law enforcement. They had been involved in drug smuggling, but each of them, according to case file documents, told investigators they, quote, had no involvement or knowledge of the Michaelson murders.
Back in those days, it was fairly rampant around here. Boats would come down the intercoastal and they would drop loads of marijuana right out in front of the Coast Guard station.
As part of a grand jury investigation in 1990, Guthrie told authorities he lived in Cortez Fishing Village in Manatee County during the time of the murders, but maintained he, quote, did not get into active smuggling until 1976, 2 years after the murders.
It became a difficult case, I think, because there was a real lack of any physical evidence.
Current Longboat Key Police Chief Pete Cumming was just a teenager when the Michaelson murders happened, but it's a case he'd like to see solved.
At the end of the day, there was not much to go on other than theories and speculation.
And despite 4 decades, a family hopes someone might still know something that could make a difference.
It certainly would be nice to know why.
Junior Guthrie still lives in the area, but we have not heard back from him. We reached out to the others involved and did hear from Roger Black and David Capo. Black admitted talking to detectives about the case, but still has no idea why he was ever considered a suspect. David Capo told us he thinks investigators were just looking at anyone who had ties to drug smuggling back then. While none of them were ever charged in this case, police have never removed them from the list of suspects. I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walzer, taking action for you.